What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going through another job that I've taken on, which is another fabrication job. So it's the first sort of fab job that I've taken on since the Supra that I did. And it is this mighty beast. So a lot of people will recognize this thing. It's been around for quite a while. It's been for sale quite a few times, different times. So it's actually been meant to come here a few times for a few different owners. So it was for sale with the bottom end knock. A bloke bought it, put another bottom end in it, as far as I'm aware, and changed the turbo setup and whatever and got it running. Then he sold it, and the bloke that bought it is the guy that owns it now. And he pretty much, he's not really a real car savvy person. He just really enjoys the car and pretty much wants to enjoy the vehicle. So he sort of essentially brought it to us to more or less finish it off, I suppose, and get it tuned. So we'll go through exactly what it is. So as you can see, 106 Hilux with some cool ass wheels. All right, the extra cab in black with them wheels. I really like how this car looks. It's a tough looking friggin' vehicle. I like it. But you'll see up in here, oh, we got a little surprise here. Look at that. So what we've got here is a 1.5J. Sorry guys, I put the car down so you can actually hear me and I can talk to you about it properly. But yeah, so we've got here a 1.5J, 2J GE bottom end with a 1J flipping hell, what's wrong with me this morning? 2J GE VVTI bottom end. So we've got the weak rods, which we all know are sort of rule of thumb good for around 300 horse. And then we've got a non-VVTI 1J GTE head. One day I'll get this flapping right. Goodness gracious. So it's sort of been half sort of tossed together and finished. It's a bit of a shame. It's one of those cars that has the potential to be incredible. It's freaking wicked. But it's one of those things where it's almost like you wish you could just pull everything out and start again, just because of the way it's been done. So anyway, it's certainly nothing that can't be sorted out. It's just a matter of us trying to do our best work for what we do on the things we touch and try and pretty much keep getting this car closer to being better and better every time. So it came here, it's got a S366 on it with a T4 S366, which is way more turbo than this thing needs. We're in a four-wheel drive, so the last thing you want is for it to be peaky or top-end power. You want something that's going to spool up pretty quick. And we've got a bottom end that's only limited to about 300 horse. So, this turbo is just absolutely overkill. Stupid to leave this on it. So we're not going to leave this on it. We're changing this out. We've got an exhaust, which has obviously been not too well done at all, so that is getting all scrapped. We're going to start again. So basically the thing came here with the intention of changing the turbo, doing a complete exhaust and doing a retune, and that was the idea. But there's going to be a few other things we're going to have to fix along the way. So the car's powered by Haltech Elite. I think it's a 2000. I'll have to get in there and actually have a better look, but I believe it was a 2000. That's what I was led to believe. We've got in here a Haltech or Holly IQ3 dash, so it's got a lot of good stuff in it. XR6 turbo seats or XR seats, so it's like I said, the thing has the potential, all the potential in the world to be absolutely rig of a vehicle. I've still got to confirm when I get underneath it, but we believe it's an R150F, which we're hoping so, because otherwise if it's still a G52 we'll blow the gearbox long before we blow this bottom end. But I believe it's been R150F converted. I believe that's what the previous owner had told me when it was meant to come here the first time, that it had been R150F converted. If you remember, we did that yonks ago. We did that blue, the earlier Hilux, the blue one, extra cab with the twin turboed 1J GTE in it, and it had the G52 in it, and we binned 2 boxes before we finally converted to R150F. So definitely, hopefully it is the R150F, and we can sort of get some partying happening. So this here is our replacement pull start. We've got ourselves a Pulsar G30-660. It is the smallest turbo that I could get in a T4. The smallest turbo that I thought would work best in this thing on a T4 flange, because we don't want to go replacing the manifold on this thing. We are working to somewhat of a budget. So the budget sort of dictated that the manifold pretty much would have to stay. We don't have the budget to replace it, so You know, these G series turbos spool awesome, so even though it's a T4.8, which is the smallest housing I could get, I do believe that this is going to, at the very least, be way better than the S366 that's on this thing. I went for the smallest compressor that I could. Obviously, smaller rotating mass will help it spool earlier, and obviously, given that we're only going for probably high 200s at the wheels, we do not need much more than a 660 flowing compressor. That's heaps. So we've got our new turbo, we've got a heap of material here to build an exhaust, and so let's get into it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Alright, so still can't find any real identification marks on this gearbox, and I have not seen enough of them or know enough about them to be able to identify them straight off the bat. So, like, all of this looks very similar or reminiscent to when we converted to the R150 and the other Hilux, but that being said, you know, different conversion kits or bell housing kits are going to be different, so it could, yeah, I really wouldn't be able to tell you just by looking at it, and I can't find anything handy on sort of Google, or there's so much misinformation and stuff around, so hopefully when I get this downpipe off, I might be able to see some more identification marks. But anyway, the other thing is we are putting the front drive shaft back in and retaining forward drive, which, if you can see where the exhaust comes down, pretty much means the only choice I have is to run the exhaust through this gap here, which is going to be a pain. It'll fit though. I've checked, our 300 will fit there, but there's nowhere with this front drive shaft in that I can actually cross this exhaust over in anywhere in front of the gearbox area. It's going to have to go over through that gap, which will come out through here, and then it can course down underneath the drive shaft there and then follow the stock route back to there. But, you know, you look at the way this conversion's been done, things like this sump, very, very close to this steering arm, like really, really close. And like things like the radiator's right there, like right there. Which is, you know, absolutely not ideal. The only place they can fit thermos is on the front of the radiator, and whoever has done that has actually put pretty much just cheap Chinese thermos on a complete shroud, which is going to do more damage. It's going to do more harm than good where they are. They should just be not on a shroud at all if you're going to put them in front. It's not really achieving a whole lot. All you're doing is blocking other air from being able to travel through the radiator. But anyway, I do have a feeling that in this guise, this thing's always going to have issues with heat. I don't think it's ever going to be happy and not overheat. But as I said, all we can do is do our job as best we can to try and continue to get this car to a point where it should be. Basically, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teething issues that are going to take a little while to sort out with this vehicle. But it's just going to be, obviously, as we all know, ongoing builds as you get more budget and more time to do things, etc. For now, the main thing is to get an exhaust on this thing and a turbo that's going to work properly, and get it running and tuning so it can actually drive, so that we can find out what these issues might be. That's looking a little bit more reasonable, a little bit more reasonably sized. Super keen to see how this thing goes. Did a S15, or started tuning an S15 the other day with the G30-660 on it, and it's freaking awesome. Big fan of these things, so I'm looking forward to finishing that tune, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this goes, particularly how well it spools up. Being the T4.8, I've got a feeling it's still going to be really nice. Anyway, stoked with it. Anyway, I digress. Gonna go ahead and weld a cast elbow onto the housing on this one. It's just too close. The manifold design, being T4, being how close it is to that guard, it's just, we're going to need to put a cast elbow on it. You know, if we put a silicone elbow on that with how close that is to the collector, it's just going to keep getting too hot and splitting. Been down that road, so we're not going to do that. Apart from that, all pretty simple. I've got some fittings to order. These are just going to be -6 to barbs. This one's going to be a right angle, this one's going to be straight, this one's going to come around to one of these ports, and that one's probably going to come over the top and down to that port there on the water pump inlet down there. So that's probably how that's going to go. Super easy, that one. Oil feed's going to be fine. I just got to get a -4 to -6 adapter. It's going to be cheaper than changing the fitting on the line or changing the line, so just get that. That'll be fine. The drain is going to be one of the hardest things because of the way these turbos are built and how compact they are. You can see how close that housing is. The housings are together because the cores are very, very compact and short. So as you can see, I can't run the drain out there. There's nowhere to run the drain out there. There's no way I can run it out the front. There's nowhere. The only place I can run it is literally down between the runners and the manifold. So that's how that's going to have to be. So we've got these, keep a few of these in stock. So these are just generic, your bolt-on drains that fit these turbos, and a bit of steel rod, or tube I should say. A bit of small steel tube. So I'm going to weld up a like a hard line drain, which will drain down between the manifold runners, because it's the only way that we can run it. So that's all right, we'll end up doing that, that's fine. So anyway, this will come out into a 45 and then a 90 and then down into a flexi. Pretty similar to the last one. I'll put the O2 sensor up around here somewhere and it should be happy days. So I've got a few things to order, but obviously can keep going on with the fab work, and that's going to be the most time consuming stuff. The video that I did on the Supra ended up being like 45 minutes. So I'm pretty much just going to try montage this fabrication stuff as much as I can and just make it as short and nice to watch as I possibly can. So like things like this is just really, really annoying. So someone's just put that terminal line upside down and literally just hammered it onto the battery and completely wrecked the battery. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but obviously a few people do, because I do see this quite a bit, is that battery terminals are tapered. They have an up and a down. So as you can see, that hole is much smaller than that hole. So it's tapered, it's meant to be that way up, but someone put it that way up and just hammered it on there and ruined this battery. I'm gonna have to get another battery for it now. But anyway, like I said, this thing's passed through so many hands, you can't really judge anything on it too hard, because it's so many people have sort of had a go at it and touched it. So it's time to start giving it the love it deserves, to turn it into the car that it should be. Righto, so I've got the first piece all tacked up, the dump pipe. So I'll run through and weld this up and before we continue. Alright, dump pipe all welded up, except for I will put an O2 bung in it probably somewhere. Move the O2. Yeah, when it came here the O2 was down underneath the car, but I'm going to move it up into the dump pipe because I like it there. But anyway, it seems like every couple of weeks I forget how long fab work takes, and then someone asks me to do a fab job and I'm like, oh yeah, fab job would be good, and then I start doing a fab job and I'm like, wow, I need to stop taking these on because I don't make any money because they take forever. But I'm pretty happy with the actual work. I am getting faster, and you know, even though this stuff takes ages, I don't make a lot of money out of it, I do really enjoy this work, so I'm having fun. Anyway, get this in the car and continue on with that. Keep on keeping on. Alright guys, so we're well into day 2. You can see the progress that's been made. That's been built back to here. So you've got a hanger there and that just comes under the back of the tail shaft there like so. So I was working on this pretty much all morning. We're having heaps of issues with our welding helmet that we have had since we bought that welder actually. Having issues with it not dimming properly. This was the last weld I did with the helmet. It went to absolute crap. And this one was the last actual weld on the piece I did before the helmet. Before I just got the craps with it, you can see started to blow out a bit over here. At least it's not a spot that's real easy to see. This is a bit of a pain, but it is what it is. But yeah, having these issues with the helmet, so at lunchtime I just sort of bit the bullet, went and bought a new helmet, which is a much better helmet. This one here, and yeah, holy crap, what a difference it makes when you actually have a decent helmet. So that's the weld I just did with that helmet, which doesn't look like much, but these cats generally are a real pain to weld to stuff, and previously having welded these cats to 3" before, I've done a lot worse than that, so pretty stoked. It's just unbelievable. I'm flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted by the actual difference it made having a decent helmet. Again guys, like I always said, we're not professional fabricators, but I do really enjoy doing this stuff. It's really just rewarding, I suppose. Yeah, I like doing the work. We don't quite have the right setup to do it as good as we could. But anyway, we are getting there. Buying a decent helmet was step 1, so that's good. But anyway, so that's the next piece. So that goes onto that V-band and just is the cat. That's where we're up to. This car has this really, really strange air conditioning condenser setup. It's very weird. I'm not confident that it works very well. As you can see, it's not put in very well. It's pretty much zip tied. This mount's snapped. It's just hanging in the breeze, and it's right in the way of where I would like to build my exhaust system. So I had a chat to the owner. Basically, I reckon this whole rear mount AC condenser setup could be done a lot better to start with, and I'd rather do a good job on my exhaust and run my exhaust where I want to, and then later on, you know, if the owner decides he wants to get the AC working at a later date, we can work out to put a better condenser in a better spot and set it up a bit nicer than just zip tie a gang of condenser down the back here. Like the actual condenser's screwed to, like, it is very warped and unhappy. So anyway, he's happy for me to just get this out of here. So that's the next thing, is just yeet that, get it out so that I continue my exhaust. So it'll be a cat here, and then I'm gonna work back a little bit. I've got a muffler, an offset muffler here. It's under a heap of crap. Well, it's not too bad actually. So we've got a muffler here, nice 3-inch muffler. So it's offset, center intake, offset exit. So I'm thinking about putting that, run the exhaust pretty much down here, and have that muffler straight up and down, so I can sort of have it come in the bottom, and then have it come out the center a little bit higher, which would be out of the way of everything. Run the exhaust nice and high. That is the plan, and hopefully that all works out. Righto guys, we're back. It's actually been a few days. Had a bit of a turn of events. Basically, where I want to run this exhaust, as you saw, where I removed the AC condenser from this area, which was one of the dodgiest bloody installs I've ever seen. It was wild. So what I want to be doing is pretty much coming here and start angling up so I can get the muffler up nice and high and out of the way. And I sort of just want to put a bit of a dogleg in it. And I was sort of looking at what to do about that. I pretty much decided that instead of, again, trying to use a grinder to get straight angled cuts, like, you know, we've got these stencils from Ben Brothers which help great on straight for doing straight cuts and doing cuts on mandrel bends. But we've got no sort of real good stencil for doing, you know, angled cuts as far as pie cuts and stuff, just to do little changes of direction. Doing it with a grinder is a real pain in the ass to get them straight. Then your welds, if you don't get them perfect, your weld turns to shit because you got to fill a huge hole. It's just, it's a pain. So I decided instead, Ben Brothers actually just offer packs of 6 pie cuts. So these are like a pack of 6, I don't know, 9-degree pie cuts, I think. So I just decided I'd buy just an assortment of different pie cuts in the 3-inch, just to have in stock, not just for this, but for heaps of other things, so that when I want to do a change of direction like this, I just grab one of them, do some straight cuts on the tube, and weld it together. It just makes things so much easier doing it that way. You know, I don't intend on doing full pie cut exhaust or anything, but just for little change of directions like this where it's not worth using a bend, but it's too hard to get this cut on a straight bit to do the pie cut ourselves without a bandsaw. These things make a lot of sense. So I ordered them, which was fine. In the meantime, had to do a few other little jobs, little welding jobs, and we ended up running out of gas. So then we were out of gas, which we've only got today. For most people that wouldn't be a problem, but for us out here where we are, you know, it costs us a good half a day just to go and get gas, let alone trying to find somewhere close enough to get it from. So anyway, lucky for us, we got a hookup. Bloke that owns a farm not too far from here, who often has bottles, and he was happy enough to exchange us a full bottle. So that sort of got us out of the crap today because the local hardware was out of our bottle size. Anyway, that's been the saga, but we're back into it. Not only did I order these, but I also ordered a Pyrex cup kit. I have been talking to a few professional welders, actual professional welders, not me, not my type of professional welder, but actual welders that do welding for a living that are some of the best in the business, I believe. Sending them photos of my welds, getting some feedback on some equipment and some techniques and stuff like that, because I am really enjoying it. So I am really wanting to sort of develop our welding technique and our equipment and stuff like that, and do better welding, basically, is what I would like to do. Because I do enjoy it. And one day we will have a bandsaw and some better equipment, and when that day comes, we will actually be able to do this probably fast enough to make decent money out of it. So we may, like, you know, as much as at the moment I always sort of whinge about how doing these jobs takes too much time, we don't really make any money out of it. I do believe that one day we will be able to, and I do really enjoy the work, so I want to continue to develop on it. So anyway, that's been the development. So now I'm going to continue on with this, get this muffler exactly where I wanted to get the muffler. And at the moment I'm just trying to decide whether I just run the cat and the single muffler, this one here, or I do actually have out the back as well a hot dog as well, a 14-inch hot dog. So I'm currently debating whether to put the hot dog in as well, or whether just the cat and the muffler is going to be alright. I don't know, but anyway, I'll keep on keeping on and I'll keep checking in as we go. HB Pyrex cup, new lid. Oh, new man, new welder. Let's see how good I can be now. Alright guys, so that's the next section sorted. Bit of a roller coaster of a day as I tried a few things and tried to sort of find my groove. So this was the last weld I did the other day just after we got the new helmet. I was stoked with that. And I started with this one today, which there's a few today I'm not super proud of. Obviously it's an exhaust, it's not the end of the world, but you know, that the other day was much better than that. But that was the first hit with the Pyrex cup and trying some different amperage settings and stuff, and sort of end up coming pretty comfortable back to another sort of amperage. By this weld I started to sort of get back into it. This one was another one that was early on which I wasn't too stoked with, but by the time I got to this one I sort of found my rhythm a bit more. I was pretty happy with this, the first muffler. The muffler seemed to be quite dirty, like seemed to get heaps of inclusions and stuff while I was trying to weld it, which was annoying. But I was pretty happy with that weld, especially from the bottom, which is where you'll be able to see it underneath the car. Should look pretty good. And then these were my last 3 welds from today. I welded this piece up first and then I welded it to the muffler last. And you can see where the muffler, like I said, it was fairly dirty, which was annoying, fair few inclusions and stuff like that. But absolutely stoked with these 2 welds here. Yeah, stoked with these 2. Definitely some of my best work to date. Super happy with those 2 welds. So yeah, can't ask much more. Getting more practice, getting better at it. Just a matter of sort of finding the groove with the machine and getting better control and getting a bit more speed so I can get better colors and stuff and get a bit more happening. But yeah, stoked with that little bit. So anyway, that's the next piece. Cut, muffler, next V-band, which is just over the diff. And then from there back, we'll put our tailpiece on, and yeah. Righto guys, it is yet another day spent on this thing. Anyway, at least every time I pick up the TIG, I feel like I'm getting better. I'm heading in the right direction. I really think I've got like my amperage sorted out as far as my torch speed goes. I've got it well matched. And this morning, some of the welds I'm doing, I'm super stoked with. So I did all this morning, all this pie cut stuff, and like it's still, you can see it's really hot, but I don't think that's particularly the weld itself. I think that's more so my impatience in just going through and welding everything up. So like by the time I get to, you know, the 5th or 6th weld on this piece of these short bits, everything's just really hot. I believe is the go. But the colors are much better because I've got the amperage set up much nicer for my torch speed. As you can see, that flange there, like really happy with all that. Absolutely stoked with that little piece. Before I tacked it to this thing, it was probably the nicest little piece that I'd done ever. Probably definitely my best welding. Like super stoked with all of that. But anyway, let's all just bask in these few little welds for a minute, because I'm not sure that I'll ever do welds this good again. Nah, hopefully I will. So this is the next section actually all installed on hangers and stuff. I really hate these hangers. Whatever they're made of is filthy. They don't weld very nice. It's really frustrating. But we've got a hanger here, right there, and we also got one on the muffler over here. So that's the muffler there, and the thing's just solid as. It's going to be great. So you know, as much as I am hating how long this is taking, like the other side of that coin is it's not exactly a simple exhaust either. It's actually quite an intricate route, and what I've had to do. And we've actually used a lot more bends and materials and stuff than I'd expected to do an exhaust on a Hilux, to be fair. But anyway, so there you go. Another, get in the light so you can see it, but there's another weld on this piece that I'm stoked with. Stoked with that. It's probably really hard to see on camera. But I am really getting a lot better with the torch as far as control and speed goes. So you know, it is nice to be developing these skills and getting better and getting faster at it. I just can't afford to be keeping on taking on these jobs because they will send me broke. But apart from that, that piece is, look at that, like that there, and then all of that. Absolutely stoked with it. It's good progression from pretty much even where this job started. I hope it translates pretty well in this video of, how the welding is progressing. So can't thank Ryan from Elite Fabworks, Mick from All Performance Garage, as well as Dan from RazFab. All three of those blokes, as well as Adam, the creature. All three of those blokes have been giving me, you know, really, really good feedback and advice to sort of help me progress, because obviously here, I'm not a professional welder. Rex isn't a professional welder. No one here is a professional welder. So, you know, there's not really anyone here to give us even any feedback and to point us in the right direction. So those boys have all helped me a great deal as far as trying to sort of send me in the right direction, which obviously is working, and I'm absolutely stoked with it. So big thanks to those boys. So this here is the resonator, which I decided I am going to put in. I reckon it's going to just make it sound a little bit nicer. I reckon this thing should sound really good, the way this exhaust has come out. With how much of it there is, how many bends and stuff there is, with that muffler. We're a big fan of these mufflers, and that resonator, I reckon this exhaust is going to sound good. And you know, obviously it's massively tune related, but with the muffler and the resonator this far back, they should last for ages. But anyway, that's what that piece looks like on there. That's how it goes. As you can see, all those pie cuts are just because that was just a little bit high. That V-band, I just had it a little bit high, and coming straight off it, I was going to hit this bar here, which was no good. So a little bit of a dog leg. Kept this up as high as I can. As you can see, it's up above the bump stop level. So, you know, this thing can come up to full bump. It's not going to hurt this exhaust. That's going to be fine. It's way out of the way. So it'll just going to be that resonator off that, which comes to about here. And then off that resonator is just going to be a little bit of straight. And then we'll just have a little bit of a lobster back. I'll use just maybe 2 or 3 of those pie cuts just to point it down a little bit. And that's going to be the exhaust. I tried to move it over as close to the spring hangers as I could, so that you can fit a decent spare wheel here if you want to. You know, there's no spare under here at the moment, but I should be able to fit a decent spare under there. I didn't want to come to the other side of the spring hanger like the old one was, just so that you've got heaps of room for different offset wheels and tyres. You know, I didn't want anything outside of this chassis rail for if you ever wanted to put different wheels and tyres on this thing. So keep it inside the chassis rail just as far as over as we can, so there's heaps of room for a spare. Or if he wants to, you know, redo his remote condenser setup properly and get AC working, there's heaps of room here to do that, you know, in a much better way than the way it was over there. So the whole exhaust is up nice and high, out of the way. As you can see, even this crossover, it's way higher than the cross member. There's nothing that hangs down lower than that. It's honestly, it's aside from the actual workmanship in some places, the actual exhaust itself, and the design and the routing of it, I think is really good. I really like it. So anyway, home stretch, and voila, the last section, the tail section, it's done. So I ended up just putting a turn down on it instead of using the pie cuts to do a little bit of a lobster back thing. The reason being is that obviously I don't have the equipment and I'm not purging this, and the inside of these welds does get pretty corally and pretty crappy. So if I was to do that right on the end, you'd be able to see it straight up the tailpipe and it'd just look crap. So I decided just to do a 45 turn down. That'll be fine. But stoked, all of my last welds, freaking awesome. That came out mint. This came out absolutely mint. Love it. You know, this whole piece is pretty good except for that one, which you already knew about. But apart from that, stoked with this thing. Except for the hangers. I freaking hate these hangers. But anyway, they are what they are. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the exhaust. So, but I mean, between that and that, what you see from the back, stoked with that. Looks awesome. Righto, guys. We are all fitted up. Obviously not the final fit, but you can see the whole route of the exhaust. So you can see up, whoop, squeeze around here. So got a dump pipe comes down there. Just in case you've already forgot from the start of this video. Down to our flex joint into this first V-band, which is nice and easy for the dump. A big long section. I've got to do something about heat shielding for these cables, which I still have to sort out when this section comes back off. This section has to come off again. I've got to finish cleaning up, fixing up this hanger. But anyway, it comes back. This is our first hanger back here, which I reckon is fine. I don't reckon we need a hanger in front of that one. Second V-band right here under the tail shaft. Plenty of clearance to that tail shaft. That's never going to be a problem. It's rock solid, and it's all above the cross member, which is awesome. Into our cat, along, got our one hanger here, which is awesome. Into our little dog leg there. First muffler, or one muffler, which also has a hanger, which means this section's just rock solid. Yeah, that's heaps. That's fine. Our last V-band here, which is all of our ply cuts, which took forever, as you saw. Into our tail section, which we have our resonator, and then down into our little dump. Look at that. And oh yeah, obviously one hanger back here too. So it's all rock solid. It's all freaking wicked. It's gonna be freaking cool. Obviously these are rubber mounts, so they do have movement, but they are, for the most part, fairly good at keeping things fairly solid. But they do have enough movement for, you know, as the chassis flexes and whatever. Shouldn't be a problem at all. But yeah, I'm honestly stoked with how this exhaust came out. This is, I suppose, probably my first complete TIG to complete exhaust. You know, the Supra was only a dump and a little bit of exhaust. Everything else I've done has been, like full exhaust on, has been MIG'd and been mostly mild stuff. This is my first fully TIG'd stainless complete exhaust, and it's very long, honestly, and it's not exactly a simple route either. It's actually turned out quite a bit more intricate than I expected. So, you know, overall I'm stoked with it. If you look through this little hole, you can see all the pie cuts and all good welds on this face, which I'm stoked with. So, you know, I am pretty stoked with it overall. I'm super happy. It's just, it's taken so freaking long to do, but it just is what it is. So anyway, this part's got to come off because I've got to sort out heat protection for those cables, and I've got to fix this hanger up and sort this out. And obviously the dump's got to come back off because I still have to put an O2 bung in it yet. And I still have to do the screamer. So we've got our screamer here where it runs. It pretty much runs from the gate there straight forward. Comes out there. It's really not ideal, but I really am struggling on where I can sort of route one that's going to be any better. I could definitely have it at least coming out somewhere that's not pointing directly at the diff, which is good. But just as far as trying to put it somewhere where it's moderately discreet and pretty hard to sort of notice and see in this vehicle is proving to be quite difficult. That's my next assignment, is try and get this screamer sorted, and then once the screamer's sorted I can pull that dump off and do what I've got to do. At the moment I've ordered a cast elbow to weld into the front housing of the turbo, along with all the stuff that I want to make the intake, which is just going to be a 4-inch bend into a 4-inch bend into a pod filter for now. It's the cheapest and easiest way to go for now to get us out of trouble. Worry about an airbox and stuff later on down the track. At this stage, we're working to a bit of a budget. I've been talking to the owner quite a bit about it, and you know, like I said to him, we have no idea what issues we're going to come across with this thing until we get it on the dyno. So, you know, doing the turbo and the exhaust and stuff is just one step. So we don't want to go spending budget on airbox and, you know, trying to do other stuff. He is talking about putting a decent snorkel on it that's going to work with for us and stuff like that, which is all well and good, but before we go throwing budget at that sort of stuff, we want to get it on the dyno and see what other issues we may run into, because you just never know. So that's the plan. So anyway, pretty basic intake for now. Cast elbow off the front should go straight onto the existing intercooler piping, and all that will be fine, and that's pretty much going to be it. So on the home stretch, but that's going to be plenty enough for this episode. This is just going to be the exhaust episode, and we'll tune in the next episode for basically the rest of the install and hopefully the tune. So thanks for watching as always. Hope you've enjoyed. Sorry that there's a fair bit of ranting going on, but it's just a lot of me learning in the process. It's the same stuff every time I do one of these jobs. It's always the same outcome. I really enjoy them, but we're not set up correctly to do this sort of work. And because of that, we cannot do it really efficiently enough for us to make money. So lucky we do enjoy it, or lucky I do enjoy it, because otherwise it'd suck even worse. But I am stoked with my progress, and I do hope that one day, maybe when we've got the fab bay built out the back, you know, that we can have a decent welder with a better torch and pipe clamps and other cool little tools that are going to be handy, and a freaking bandsaw, you know, all that sort of stuff, which would make doing this work so much quicker and easier and nicer and more enjoyable. But anyway, that's my rant. So anyway, thanks for watching. As always, head to the shop, buy yourself some merch, go into your drawer to win yourself a Pulsar GDX Gen 2 Turbo, similar to what's on this. This is the G series, but you know, Pulsar GDX Gen 2. You will win the frame size and housing sizes of your choice. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, see you, bye.